The Epic of Sundiata, the Lion Child. A wife quickly grows accustomed to her state. Sagalan now walked freely in the king's great enclosure, and people also got used to her ugliness. But the first wife of the king, Sasuma Berete, turned out to be unbearable. She was restless and smarted to see the ugly Sagalan proudly flaunting her pregnancy about the palace. What would become of her, Sasuma Berete, if her son, already 8 years old, was disinherited in favor of the child that Sagalan was going to bring into the world? All the king's attentions went to the mother to be. On returning from the wars, he would bring her the best portion of the booty, fine loincloths and rare jewels. Soon, dark schemes took form in the mind of Sasuma Berete. She determined to kill Sagalan. In great secrecy, she had the foremost sorcerers of Mali come to her, but they all declared themselves incapable of tackling Sagalan. In fact, from twilight onwards, 3 owls came and perched on the roof of her house and watched over her. For the sake of peace and quiet, Sasuma said to herself, "Very well then, let him be born, this child, and then we'll see." Sagalan's time came. The king commanded the 9 greatest midwives of Mali to come to Nyana, and they were now constantly in attendance on the damsel of Dew. The king was in the midst of his courtiers one day when someone came to announce to him that Sagalan's labors were beginning. He sent all his courtiers away, and only Nakuman Dawa stayed by his side. One would have thought that this was the first time that he had become a father. He was so worried and agitated. The whole palace kept complete silence. Dawa tried to distract the sovereign with his one-stringed guitar, but in vain. He even had to stop this music as it jarred on the king. Suddenly, the sky darkened and great clouds coming from the east hid the sun, although it was still the dry season. Thunder began to rumble and swift lightning rent the clouds. A few large drops of rain began to fall while a strong wind blew up. A flash of lightning, accompanied by a dull rattle of thunder, burst out of the east and lit up the whole sky as far as the west. Then the rain stopped and the sun appeared, and it was at this very moment that a midwife came out of Sagalan's house, ran to the antechamber, and announced to Nare Magan that he was the father of a boy. The king showed no reaction at all. He was as though in a daze. Then Dawa, realizing the king's emotion, got up and signaled to 2 slaves who were already standing near the royal tabla. The hasty beats of the royal drum announced to Mali the birth of a son. The village tam-tams took it up, and thus all Mali got the good news the same day. Shouts of joy, tam-tams, and balafons took the place of the recent silence, and all the musicians of Nyani made their way to the palace. His initial emotion being over, the king had got up, and on leaving the antechamber, he was greeted by the warm voice of Naukom Dawa singing, "I salute you, father. I salute you, King Nari Magan. I salute you, Magan Kanfata, Fraco Magan Kayugu. The child is born, whom the world awaited. Magan, O happy father, I salute you. The lion child, the buffalo child is born, and to announce him, the Almighty has made the thunder peal. The whole sky has lit up, and the earth has trembled. All hail, father. Hail, King Nare Magan." All the griots were there, and had already composed a song in praise of the royal infant. The generosity of kings made griots eloquent, and Magan Kanfata distributed on this day alone 6 granaries of rice among the populace. Sasuma Berete distinguished herself by her largesses, but that deceived nobody. She was suffering in her heart, but did not want to betray anything. The name was given the 8th day after his birth. It was a great feast day, and people came from all the villages of Mali, while each neighboring people brought gifts to the king. First thing in the morning, a great circle had formed in front of the palace. In the middle, serving women were pounding rice, which was to serve as bread, and sacrificed oxen lay at the foot of the great silk cotton tree. In Sagalon's house, the king's aunt cut off the baby's first crop of hair, while the poetesses, equipped with large fans, cooled the mother, who was nonchalantly stretched out on soft cushions. The king was in his antechamber, but he came out, followed by Dawa. The crowd fell silent, and Dawa cried, "The child of Sagalon will be called Magan after his father, and Maridajata, a name which no Mandingo prince has ever borne. Sagalon's son will be the first of this name." Straightway the griots shouted the name of the infant, and the tam-tams sounded anew. The king's aunt, who had come out to hear the name of the child, went back into the house and whispered the double name of Magan and Mari Dujata in the ear of the newly born, so that he would remember it. The festivity ended with the distribution of meat to the heads of families, and everyone dispersed joyfully. The near relatives, one by one, went to admire the newly born.